Hi, so now I'm going to go over part 2 of chapter 3. Okay. In this little section we have two independent clauses. Okay. Now we have to understand again helvetii as the carryover subject from the last sentence. Okay. So let's look at the first clause, running from ad eos through duxerunt. Okay. Now this clause is structured as an indirect statement, followed by the word, here duxerunt, that kind of introduces to an English speaker's mind the indirect statement. Okay. Also really important to realize here is that the verb duxerunt, this verb duco, has a different meaning from what we're normally used to as to lead. Okay. Here duco is going to mean I consider. So duxerunt, they considered, namely the helvetii considered. Okay. And the content of what they considered, the indirect statement, is actually comes before the verb duxerunt. Okay. So they considered that. Okay. So now we have a subject accused of an infinitive indirect statement. Biennium. Okay. That's your subject accused of. A biennium. Okay. It's a neuter noun. It means a 2-year period. Okay. And s is your infinitive. Okay. So they considered that a 2-year period was sufficient or was enough for them. Okay, sat is here being your predicate, your complement. Here it's a predicate accused of, but it's sat is here is the complement going with the linking verb esse. Was enough or sufficient for them, sibi, or for themselves, dative of reference, the helvetii. Sufficient for what? Ad eos res conficiendas, for completing these matters. Okay. Here it's a gerundive. Remember, a gerundive is an adjective and modifies a noun or pronoun. Okay. The gerundive conficiendas is in agreement with the feminine accusative plural race. Okay. For the purpose of completing these matters. When you see the preposition ad with a gerund or gerundive phrase, it's going to mean for the purpose of or simply for. Okay. All right. So first part. So they considered that a 2-year period was enough for themselves for completing these matters. Okay, in other words, the preparations for their departure. Now, notice how we have no conjunction that means and between these two independent clauses. Okay. Again, when we don't have a conjunction, we call that asyndeton. A-S-Y-N-D-E-T-O-N. Asyndeton. Okay. So now we move to the second independent clause. Confirmant, similar to helvetii, they establish, or they maybe even ratify. What do they ratify? The profectionem, the departure, by law, lega, in tertium annum. Here in with accusative meaning for. They establish the departure by law for the 3rd year. Okay. I also want to kind of just draw your attention to something that we've moved from a perfect tense duxerunt to a present tense confirmant. Okay. Again, quite often, and don't read too much into it, but often narratives of past events in Latin often shift into the present tense. It's just for the sake of vividness. Okay. All right. So now I have some questions to ask of you, and I'll see you in the next screencast.